In section 6.1, we are going to be dealing with ratios and unit rates. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division, and there's three ways that we can write a ratio. 10 to 5 using the word 2 in there, or using that colon, or as a fraction. Mathematically, we often use the fraction because then we can multiply it, divide it, etc. On the left-hand side here, you'll see skills that you need, and that is mainly reducing fractions to simplest form. So if you look at number 1 right here, 30 and 35 are both multiples of 5, so this would reduce to 6/7 by dividing both the top and the bottom by 5. Number 2, I can see they're both multiples of 4, and then I can see those are both multiples of 2. So actually they were both multiples of 8. So I didn't catch that to begin with, but if you'd have divided directly by 8, you would have gotten straight to 3/5. So sometimes it may take you a couple of steps. 54 and 60 are both multiples of 6. This is 9/10. 12/15, both multiples of 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 14 over 42. Pretty sure 2, carry the 1, 42. Yeah, 42 is a multiple of 14, so this is 1/3. And then here, 40 over 24, I'm going to divide by 4 first, because that's the first thing that popped into my head. Oh, and again, the same thing as in number 2 here. If I'd have divided by 8, I would have gotten to it quicker. So 5/3, or that would be as a mixed number 1 and 2/3. So they reintroduced to us a ratio. A ratio is simply a comparison of two quantities by division, and you can write a ratio like this. This is it in algebraic form. And so 10 to 5 with the word 2 in there, or with a colon between. Mathematically, we often show it as a fraction. So in example 1, a survey asked whether students they had after school jobs, write the ratio of students with jobs to students without jobs. So here's with jobs and here's without jobs. So it's 40 to 60, which would reduce to 2/3. And then in letter B, they want without jobs to all of the students surveyed. So here's without jobs and here's all of the students surveyed. So it's 60 to 100, which reduces to 3/5. And then I copied this graph so we could do these right here. Write each ratio as a fraction in its simplest form. Students with jobs, which is 40, to all of the students surveyed, which would be 100. That very quickly reduces to 4 over 10, which both divisible by 2. So we get 2/5. And then here, students without jobs, which was 60, to students with jobs, which was 40. Again, we can reduce those by 10, and we get 6/4, which will reduce to 3 over 2. We will leave it as 3 over 2. With a ratio, you won't want to switch it to a mixed number, because if you look right up here at the ways a ratio can be written, you don't see a mixed number in there. And then moving on to the next page, they define rate here. A rate is a ratio that compares quantities to different units. Specifically, we're going to find the unit rate, which is one that has a denominator of 1. So when you look at these, right here, regular is $1.20 for 12 ounces. So they're going to take that $1.20 and divide it by 12. And remember, when we do division, we put the numerator inside. And so that will go in one time. And then 0, so that's where they got that 10 from. 224 divided by 28. It won't go any. And then 8 times 8 is 64, carry the 6. 16 plus 6 is 22. So 0.08 is how they got that. And then lastly, 0.360 divided by 40. None, and it'll go in 9 times. 9 times 0, 9 times 4. So we get that. So the lowest unit price is actually the family. And you find the unit price by simply taking the price and dividing it by the unit. So in letter A here, we have 2 liters of water that cost $1.98. So we have $1.98 and there's 2 of them. That would be 18.18, so 99 cents. So my unit rate is 99 cents per liter. Here, a car goes 425 miles on 12.5 gallons of gas. So 425 miles per 12.5 gallons of gas. So what we're trying to find is the miles per gallon. Move the decimal 1, which is going to require I put in a 0 there. This would be 3. That would be 375. 500, that would be 4. 4 times 125 is 500. So here we get 34 miles per gallon. So that's the miles per gallon that you're getting. We're going to spend more time here. We want to change 10 miles per hour to feet per minute. So we're going to start off with 10 miles per hour. Notice that they rewrote it like this. Miles per hour. So that's how you're going to write it. And then we're going to go through and they decided, okay, miles is up here. In order to get it to cancel, it's got to go down there because then that will allow us to do that. There are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So that gets me in feet, which is the unit that I want up top. So my top unit is okay. So now we look at hours. Hours is down here. In order to cancel, it has to go up top so that I can cancel it. And there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So hours is gone, and you'll notice now your 2 units that are left are feet per minute. And now we have 10 times 580 divided by 60. We multiply things along the top, divide by things on the bottom. Now, before we do 5,280 times 10 and then divide it by 60, let's cancel like we can in fractions. So the first cancellation they did is that 10 will go into 60 6 times. And then they said, okay, 6 will go into 5,280. And this will actually require some long division. And it'll go 8 times. That would be 48. 52 minus 48 is 4. Bring down the 8. It'll go 8 more times. And then we have that 0, so we need a 0. So that's where that 880 is coming from. And we get 6 goes into that, and we get 880. So along the top, we have 1, 880, and 1. And on the bottom, we just have 1. So we end up with 880 feet over minute. And you'll notice your miles have canceled, your hours have canceled, and your only units left are feet per minute. So now let's look at these two right here. We have 3.5 quarts per minute. Notice how I'm going to write that. QT over MIN. In the end, I want to be in gallons per hour. So I can start by fixing the quarts, or I can start by fixing the minutes. Let's go ahead and just in practice do the top unit first. Okay, so I'm going to put, if quarts is up top, it needs to go down at the bottom to cancel. And there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So now quarts is gone. And I've got gallons up top, which is what I want up top. Now we'll deal with minutes. Minutes is on the bottom. Minutes has to go up here in order to cancel. And from minutes, I can go to hours. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Minutes cancels. So now I have 3.5 times 1 times 60 divided by 4 divided by 1. So let's see if we can do some reducing first. 4 will go into 60. 60 divided by 4 is 15. So now I just have 3.5 times 1 times 15 over 1 and 1. So I have 3.5 times 15. 25, carry the 2, 15, 16, 17, placeholder 0, and 1 times 5 and 1 times 3. 12, carry the 1, and I need 1 decimal place, so I get 52.5 gallons per hour. Okay, now let's look at B. We have 12. Notice I'm going to put centimeters up top, and then that seconds I'm going to put in the bottom. And we're going to work with our first unit, our top unit first. I want meters per hour. So from centimeters, I can go to meters. There's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So that means centimeters would be gone. And I'm in meters, which is what I wanted for my top unit. And then seconds per hour. Okay, so from seconds, I can go to minutes. There's 60 seconds in 1 minute, so seconds is gone. But I want hours, so I'm not quite done. I've got to do one more jump. Minutes is down here. It's got to go up here to cancel. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So now minutes is gone. Now let's look at what we have. We have 12 times 60 times 60 divided by 100. So let's start reducing. 60 and 100 are both multiples of 10. Okay, and then 60 and 110 are both multiples of 10. So that reduces to a 1. So now I have 12 times 6 times 6. 12 times 6 is 72. Times 6 again, 2. Carry the 1. 42 plus 1 is 43. So we end up with 432 meters per hour is our unit there. Okay, let's do one more. Let's say I had 30 gallons per minute and I wanted to go to cups per second. So we're going to start with 30 gallons over minute. And I'm going to swap out my gallons, this top unit first. So it's up top, it's got to go down to the bottom. And from gallons, I can go to quarts. There's 4 quarts in 1 gallon. And so if we look there, gallons is now gone. Still trying to get to the unit that I want. Quarts is up top, it's got to go down below. From quarts, I can go to pints. There's 2 pints in 1 quart. Quarts is now gone. And then from pints, I can go to cups. There's 2 cups in 1 pint. There is a table of customary units in the back of your book, and I will give you conversion factors to use. But if you don't have those in your head, there is a list of them in the back of your book. Find that list to use on your homework. On your quiz, I will have a list of any units that you might need to use. So I've gotten my cups. See, that's the only unit left up top. Now we got to deal with the time. From minutes, minutes is on the bottom, so minutes has to go up top. Minutes, I can go to seconds. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And if you look, minutes here and here, one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator, and it cancels. So now let's reduce some fractions. I've got 30 here and 60 here. 30 will go into 60 twice. And then 2 will go into 2. Those will both be 1. So now I have 4 times 2. Well, 1 times 4 times 2 times 1 times 1, which is just 4 times 2, which is 8. My only units up top are cup. My only units on the bottom are seconds. And the only thing I have on the bottom are ones. So I'm not going to bother dividing by 1 over and over and over again. So that's how you do those.